Welcome all to Off the Cuff with Namrita, and hope you all are having a wonderful, weekend. And today's show is about dignity, respect, and love, and our mindsets. And I hope this interview can change even one mindset, and that would be great. There was a quote I was reading, and it said, why is it that as a culture we are more comfortable seeing two men holding guns than holding hands? So, this show is all about respecting and all about human rights. And I do have a wonderful guest here with me, Anuradha Gupta. Anuradha, welcome to Off the Cuff.
Thank you so much for having me here.
My pleasure. A little bit about Anuradha. She is the new president of PFLAG Danville-San Ramon Valley. She was on the board of her PFLAG chapter for 3 years before that. She has an LGBT plus child and has advocated for gay rights at work and in a Desi community. She has volunteered with Art of Living, Free Mom Hugs, Real Mama Bears, Human Rights Campaign, and the Trevor Project. She has written many articles and done talks supporting the LGBTQ plus community, featured on various platforms like San Ramon Diversity Coalition, Narika, Pilani Engineering School, Desi Moms, and Queer Story Time. Anu is an Ayurvedic doctor who teaches and writes for Kerala Ayurveda. She was on the DEI committee of the National Ayurvedic Medical Association and is a current member of GLMA, Health Professionals Advancing LGBTQ Equality. So, Anuradha, my question to you is the term LGBTQ plus. We just think of it as something not right or not normal. Would you like to explain what this the acronym means?
Sure, absolutely. So, just like when we talk about BIPOC people, that is
Yes.
Black, Indigenous people of color. So that's a term. Similarly, the uh, earlier the overarching term was gay. So
Yes.
that is for people who have a sexual orientation or gender identity which is defined by this term. So lesbian is like women attracted to other women. And as far back as 6th century BC, it is based on Sappho of Lesbos, who wrote
Mm.
passionate poetry about other women. So people have always had those
Mm.
sexual orientations. In Chinese culture, we see references in our temples in
Yes.
Khajuraho, and everywhere we see,
Mm.
uh, women that are attracted
Mm.
to other women.
Mm.
Gay is, LG. So gay is more homosexual men attracted to other men.
Mm.
And the sweet story is that it starts with L because during the HIV/AIDS crisis, which affects everybody,
Yes.
people of what we call so-called the
Mm.
straight orientation,
Mm.
men attracted to women, even kids, anybody from a blood transfusion could get HIV.
Mm.
But in the 80s, homosexual men were disproportionately impacted. So they were being turned out of their homes,
Mm.
and there was so much stigma. So lesbian women and nurses took care of them. That's why the term starts with L. See, it's all about love and
Yes.
humanity.
Mm.
Yeah. And then bisexual B is like people attracted to both sexes. And then, gender identity is another part of it, So we have a sex assigned at birth, which is, based on, our biological, physical differences. But uh, gender is how we identify, right?
Mm.
So I mean, when did we identify as female, right? It could be at some age that we start thinking, oh, I'm a girl, right?
Mm.
So similarly, somebody may not identify with their natal sex or sex assigned at birth, and
Mm.
this is a spectrum. Like we all know Alok Menon, right, who is non-binary. We know people from the hijra kinner community,
Mm.
right? So and they could be either intersex, which is in the hijra community there's some,
Yes.
and only 2% of the population is intersex, which is like having red color. That is also the hair. That is
Yes.
also in the same statistic. There they can have both male and female sex characteristics,
Mm. Mm.
but gender identity is altogether different. Like So consider transgender, somebody whose gender identity or gender expression differs from their sex assigned at birth, that is transgender. And they could be transgender through their expression,
Mhm.
like how they dress, they can change their name, or they could be through, legally changing,
Mm,
or, even through some gender affirming care. So
mm,
that is what the term is. And
mm,
it, 10% almost of the US population identifies as LGBTQ according to the latest Gallup poll. And
mm,
they've always existed, right? The in Native American cultures, we talk about the two spirit people. In our community, we talk about Tritiya Prakriti or third gender.
yeah.
And it was actually the British who banned,
Yes.
homosexuality in
Yes.
India.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a colonial thing, right?
Mm.
There was no concept of this being wrong. They were always honored and included in our society.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. This is such a wonderful description of all. Thank you for that. Thank you for educating my audience because a lot of us just speak of it as one word and that's about it, and we don't know. And now coming to PFLAG, you are the president. A little bit about that and how you got associated with the organization.
Sure. So, PFLAG actually is a huge organization. So,
Yes.
and it has 400 chapters. So, there is a chapter in San Jose, there is a chapter in Tri Valley. We have a chapter which is the Danville-San Ramon Valley chapter.
Okay.
So, this is one of the oldest and nation's largest LGBTQ supporting organization, which is dedicated to advocating for, educating people,
Mhm.
and, about LGBTQ people and people who love them, and it has 200,000 members. So
Oh.
I became president of my local chapter after 3 years on the board.
Mm,
And how it happened was, I used to do talks
mm,
about the LGBTQ community to educate and, to make sure that people are more loving, supportive, and understand, right? Because when we don't understand, that's a
mm,
big, either a fear we have, or that's what makes us,
mm,
be homophobic. So I was doing one such talk with San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition, and I got a call the next day from a board member of our local PFLAG chapter. And she said, would you like to join our board? And so I was on the board for 3 years when they asked me, would you like to be president? And it was a big honor.
mm,
So that's why I stepped up to be president.
mhm,
But I wanted to tell, because we love stories. So the story of PFLAG is that it was a mother,
mm.
Jean Manford.
Yeah.
She founded PFLAG in 1972 because her son was beaten up during you know during the movement then, where they were trying to hand out pro-gay leaflets.
Mhm,
And so she wrote to New York Post,
mm,
and she wrote a very, very beautiful letter complaining why was he treated like that. And she was a school teacher, right? Simple lady, but she was so powerful. And the letter got published, and then, she marched with her son Morty, for gay rights. And
mm,
then she thought, okay, I have to set up this movement. And then that became like this big movement for everybody, supporting everybody.
mhm. Mm. Wonderful. And I think it stood for parents of lesbian and gays
Yes, so
earlier
we
when it
changed the
started.
acronym because the acronym was not inclusive of trans people. So
Yes.
now it's just an acronym. Like, we
Acronym.
thought maybe we should change it, change the name, but everybody associates P flag with, that value. So
Mhm.
now it's just called P flag, and then it stands for everybody, all sexual orientations, gender identities.
Yes.
So yeah,
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
that is what
And
P
you
flag
just
stands for.
celebrated, I guess, 50 years of PFLAG then last year,
Yes,
2023. So congratulations on that and all the
thank you.
work being done through PFLAG. Now coming to your personal story, Anuradha, you've written that your child is LGBT. So tell me about your journey, especially in our community where, we barely talk about sexual orientation or gender identity. Because I've
Yes.
come from that space where we barely talked about anything. So I think tell me about your journey and how you helped, our Desi community to get comfortable at least to, talking about it and approaching this. Yes.
Sure. No, thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. See, I have two children,
Yes.
and one kid of mine has more rights than the other. I mean, for any mother, that hurts a lot. Like my LGBTQ kid has
Hmm.
lesser rights, right, compared to me also, right?
Yes.
And I have privilege. So I also grew up, where we never talked about sex, never talked about sexual orientation, never talked about things like menstruation,
Hmm.
everything was like, it was kind of hidden, right?
Yeah, under the
And
carpet. I know. Yeah.
under the carpet,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Totally. That was our culture, right?
Hmm.
So then, and I looked around, if I think of it, like in India, because it was LGBTQ community was criminalized till 2018,
Yes.
right? That was the old British law of 1831, and it continued till
Hmm.
2018. In fact, 2014, gender identity became accepted before even sexual orientation, which is
Hmm.
great, right? Because and then 2018 this decriminalization happened, so nobody was open,
Hmm.
except one of my friends
Hmm.
told us that he was gay and in college, and then he could never tell his father, so
Hmm.
father passed away, he was very sad, he moved to Canada, got married there to to
Hmm.
his friend, a man, right? So we were so happy for him.
Hmm.
So then, like, my kid came out to me when she was 10. And, already, like, my sister showed us this very funny movie called Birdcage, which was about, that typical, you know, um, like homophobia. But in
Yeah.
that backdrop, right,
Hmm.
there was a gay couple. Robin Williams plays,
Hmm.
acts in
Hmm.
that. So
Yeah.
she saw also one Art of Living teacher came and stayed in our house, and he told us about his husband. So she, when she was 8, so she saw that, okay, this is normal. We are very supportive. So she
Hmm.
told me when she was 10 that, Mom, I think I like girls. And we were ordering food. I said, very good, beta. And I said, okay, but what do you want to eat? So she was very happy. She was like very scared.
Okay.
And, people know, they know, and they say at the age of 1.5, people know
Hmm.
that, either I'm a girl or boy,
Hmm.
so their gender identity or non-binary.
Hmm.
And then they know fairly early, like what
Hmm.
their sexual orientation is. So when she told me, I supported her, I told my
Hmm.
husband, and then, we read up, we, knowing us, right, we read up
Yes.
resources,
Yes.
right?
You have to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And also kind of the South Asian way, like, so
Hmm.
then I joined a course to
Hmm.
study everything, like queering identities, history,
Yeah.
civil rights, what is the difference, because then we didn't know much, what is, who are transgender people, what is, and so I did all of that. And then she came, like, she kind of didn't talk much about it, but she
Hmm.
experienced some bullying, I think, we got to know.
Okay.
And then in California, it was so much better when she
Hmm.
came out, right? So we supported and we talked about it. That was one thing. I took her permission.
Hmm.
Do you feel safe, right? Because
Okay.
not everybody is safe. So she
Yes.
said, okay, I feel safe with this family. That she was still, in school. So I started talking about it, and people were amazing. Like the most conservative person,
Hmm.
she told me, Anu Tritiya Prakriti. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Support her,
Hmm.
right? And then after that, like,
Hmm.
one after the other, we found, even with family, it took some time, but we told them, like, we were hesitant, I feel. But I tell you, the sweetest thing was I showed my mother-in-law my daughter's partner,
Hmm.
and she said, like, ye to kisi bhi ladke se achhi hai.
Oh, okay. So
So she
lovely.
looks
I
better than
think this
any
is
guy.
such a huge, support system, for as a parent. I can understand that. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. And then, we continued in the Desi community. I did a lot of work. So
Okay.
I did, like, on Art of Living, there was a Desi Mom, two
Mm.
Art of Living teachers interviewed me.
Mm.
Then Narika is so
Yes.
supportive,
Yes.
Rewire community, they are
Yeah.
so supportive. Then even my daughter's company, South Asian Source. So my daughter is a domestic violence advocate. So
Mm.
they, so I did a Gender 101 series with her where we talked about, you know, uh, gender identity, sexual orientation, and South Asian community. So we
Mhm.
talk about that intersectionality because we are from two marginalized communities, right?
Yes.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
Very
So
true.
we talked about that. And, Namrita, I was thinking, see, we will talk maybe for 20 minutes. In that
Mm,
itself, like 26 kids will attempt suicide, LGBTQ kids. That is the suicide rate.
mm,
So even one affirming adult can reduce that by 40%.
mm,
That's why I feel so strongly that we need this message for the Desi community. Look, your
mm,
kids need to live. They
mm,
need to be themselves. Only then they'll be successful. Like we talk so much about success.
mm,
Unless they are themselves, how can they be happy?
mm.
So, I've spoken, there was a Koshish podcast we did with Narika,
Yeah, yeah,
and, I've written articles. So, in the way we live, in the things we do, we just want kids to be happy, community to be happy. And, that has been my focus.
yeah. Again, thank you for sharing because I know, like, I feel we don't have the language when we come to we face this kind of a situation. So we, like you said, I read a lot, I wanted to educate a lot, and you were lucky to find such a supportive system in your family and with your friends because that is so important, I feel, Uh, and main thing is educating yourself also because I personally will, I don't have the language sometimes to even communicate to our kids because we don't know what to say, how to, help or uplift them when they are down. Because हमको पता ही नहीं है. We only took orders from our, parents. There was yes, 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 and now it's a different, age and time for parenting. And kudos to you for providing strength to your child and the community through your work. So thank you so much for all you're doing. But I know coming now to the environment that we are in with the political system changing and the orders being coming out of the government orders that is making the LGBTQ plus community very very vulnerable. So how can you uh, help in this kind of an environment? How can the community come together and what can be done?
Absolutely. This is such an important question. And, like we face support. We also saw that our kid was bullied or, did
Yes.
not have equal rights in, they say not in housing, not in healthcare, not in, employment. There could be some discrimination. So there are no federal protections. And then this government had, all these executive orders, but they are not the law. So that's the first thing we are telling people, they are not the law. And a lot of organizations, ACLU, Lambda Legal, and even PFLAG has filed a case against the government. Right.
Okay.
So, what
Mm,
we have done is, along with transgender young adults and families of transgender youth
mm, mhm,
and GLMA, which I, am also a member of, we are serving as the plaintiff in a federal legal challenge against an executive order from the Trump administration, which was trying to shut down nationwide access to necessary medical care for transgender people under 19. And
mm.
this gender affirming care is life saving.
Okay.
So, and the good news is that a federal judge has issued a temporary restraining order
Good.
blocking enforcement of this
Mm,
executive order. So
mhm,
we are giving a strong signal to
mm,
people that look, we are here for you. And in this environment, we are getting so many people asking for support. We
mhm,
have support groups every month, and all our chapters have support groups. We are advocating. So if there's a bill, like there was a bill about transport, so all of us are calling our representatives, and that's what we
mm,
encourage, like call the your representatives, show up, and then we are educating people, because one of the things we're doing is we want to humanize people, right? What happens is there is all this shock and awe, and then people start dehumanizing people, but they are just like us. I
mm,
mean, they are our children, they are our neighbors, they are our community, they are just like us. They deserve, at a time like this, they deserve us to stand up and fight for them,
mm.
so we are doing all it takes. And we are trying to tell people, take care of your mental health,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah, that is what is getting impacted a lot in this. Lot of, every day a challenge. And then, people are getting overwhelmed. So we are saying, take a
Mm,
breath, take care of your mental health.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know talking about dehumanizing, I think that's the word. People need to be very careful. Uh, as to how they deal with this kind of a situation, because the rhetoric is so bad around everything. And it's just inducing fear and everything that is negative. So how can people reach out? Any good sources they can look up online?
Sure. Yes, no, so here's one thing that we do. We do some storytelling. We try to, like, you know, an interview like this, right? It's so humanizing because suddenly it's like, today's my kid's birthday. My kid is also LGBTQ. I'm fighting for her right to live.
Yeah.
The violence against the LGBTQ community is already 4 times higher, right? So we encourage people to be allies, right? So the resources are like, it can be simple things like if you have a little rainbow flag on your pen stand, people know that you are affirming. If you add pronouns,
Mm,
if you are just like, uh, they call it the butterfly effect. Like a butterfly flaps its wings in India, and there can be a tornado here. Our community is so connected, right?
mm,
So if we show up as allies against all this litigation, if we call our representatives. It doesn't have to be LGBTQ people or their families calling.
mm.
Call them,
Yes.
right? If
Mm,
somebody reaches out and says they come out to you, make them feel make them feel safe,
safe.
and put yourself in their shoes. So, there is Desi Rainbow Parents and Allies,
Mhm,
there's PFLAG,
mm.
there are like these organizations, HRC, then there is, maybe even donate to LGBTQ organizations, because and be visible in your support in any way, and keep talking about teaching families and kids, because it begins at home.
Very true,
S-
very true. Mm,
yeah, so teach your kids like they're just like us.
mm,
So humanizing them, I think, there are many articles that have been written. There are people you see nowadays everywhere, like on social media, there
mm.
will be people talking about their stories. So
Absolutely.
amplifying their voices,
Yeah.
amplifying the
Narratives,
voices.
yeah, I feel narratives and storytelling is so important, and amplifying minority voices is the key, I think, for equality. I feel all around, and provide safe spaces. That's all, educate, like Anuradha is saying, and just know more and be aware rather than stereotyping and, just putting your prejudices forward without knowing. So you must, educate yourself. So, Anuradha, now, you've done so much of work with PFLAG, and any tough experience that you had, and one heartwarming experience that you can share with us before we go, because I'm we're looking at the time also. Yes.
Right. Yeah, no, so, the tough experiences, I'll start with that. One
Okay.
of my family friends, the kid was asked to leave home when they came out, right? So that was very tough. And I know this is triggering, but one of my friend's kid,
Mm,
is trans, and they died by suicide after, the elections, because they saw all, they kind of knew how the environment is. So
mm,
those were like heartbreaking. And, they had these kitties, they had, the partner, they have a sibling, then the mom is struggling. She's my colleague and friend.
mm,
So it's tough because, then you see like people, who are struggling. My friends are struggling. So that's been very tough, right?
mm,
So,
mm,
and like my kid, people are struggling because of this federal funding issue, right? So my kids organization talks about it, and it's hard to see. Like, in fact, like we try to make them relax a bit, and just
yeah,
not
that was
talk about this, let's have some fun kind of stuff. But one heartwarming story is, I went for one conference and they couldn't pull up my membership. So
okay.
there were these three trans kids who said, we were supposed to go for lunch in there, and I was not allowed in for lunch. I'd
Mm,
been a member for 2 years. They had some glitch in their system. So these three trans kids,
mm,
they came and told me, we will take you for lunch. We are also not going. And
okay.
one of the kids was so funny, right? We were in North Carolina, and the kid said, I said, look, I'm dressed in Indian clothes. They said, look, I was a white man.
Mm.
No, I am a white man now, and I was a white woman, trans kid, right? So I
Okay.
have everything covered,
Oh,
and I got your back. I
okay.
tell you, their courage and compassion, right? They fought
Uh-huh.
for me. They took me out for lunch. They made me laugh. They,
Mhm.
you know, it, like it's just like I have never met, like, we meet all kinds of people, but I think I just seeing their courage, because I think their resilience, they have to face, racism, oppression. They know how it feels. They stand up for us, right? So I loved it. I wanted to share that.
Absolutely. In the end, we all are human, like you're saying, and humanity shines in everywhere, I'll say. We have to retrain, relearn, and rethink our own the way we think, and especially our Desi community. I urge everybody to check out PFLAG online, or get in touch with Anuradha. Do you have any kind of contact information that you can give?
Sure. So,
Yeah.
they can write to us. So, we are the Danville San Ramon Valley chapter, but online they can find their local PFLAG chapter.
Okay.
So, and they have the contact information for us. It is hello@srvpflag.org,
Okay.
and they can just write to us, and we always attend to that. We have support group meetings, so they can, we meet people before that, like we talk to them if they want to come for support group meetings. So definitely they can reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, if they want to connect. So yeah, and we are all there for you. Thank you so
Absolutely, and
much.
the value that PFLAG brings, I had gone on your website, or read a little, is bravery, accountability, inclusion, growth, and community. So I urge the community to come together, and back, and just show humility and love to all. Thank you, Anuradha. This was such a wonderful talk that I had. Thank you for opening up your heart and your personal journey. Appreciate it so much, and all the best to you in all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a platform. I am so honored and grateful.
My pleasure. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.